I'm joined today by the former Aries FC amateur middleweight champion, and he joins me ahead of his pro debut that'll be happening next week, December 15th at Nashville Underground. Welcome, Andrew Stewart. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you too. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, and I did some digging on you, and here are kind of some of the themes I found out when I did my homework on you, my MMA Sherlock Holmes. Lifelong athlete, former football player. We make the transition into MMA, but I'm hoping you can kind of fill in some of those gaps because that's kind of the breadcrumb trail that I kind of find. But what are some of more of the details about your story and kind of how we got here?
So I've been an athlete my entire life. Played football, powerlifted in high school, went to college, played football. I was a linebacker in college. Strength and athleticism is always a huge part of my life growing up. So that translates really well over to MMA. But after I didn't realize any of my dreams as far as playing at the NFL level, I had some opportunities that didn't turn out. But I'm an extremely competitive person. So I spent a couple of years. I've always trained hard, still worked on my athleticism. And then one day I just noticed that we had a jiu-jitsu gym, the town over. And I thought, well, I'd like to at least try it. I think it'd be cool. So I went, and it was at Game Bread in Clarksville, which is since shut down. But my coach was Toby Amata. For a lot of people that are hardcore MMA fans probably know who he is. He's the one that choked out Masvidal with the inverted triangle back in Bellator. So I got lucky that I landed with a jiu-jitsu ace as my only coach. But once that gym shut down, I started looking for new gyms, and I came down here to Nashville MMA. So I drive from Bowling Green down here to Nashville, and it's been a blessing since I got here. We got so much resources. I got Dustin Ortiz, ex-UFC fighter, has a win over the current flyweight champion. And that's just kind of how it just kind of snowballed into, I'm pretty good at this. And after I did my first fight, it was something I wanted to do even more. And then now that I've got the ball rolling, it turns out looks like I have a real shot at this sport.
Obviously, with football, we're talking about a team sport. We're talking about a team dynamic. You're dependent on 10 other guys that are on the field with you. Now we're talking about combat sports, which is, there's really no relation there. Yes, it's a team sport to a degree. There are people that help you get ready for this moment, and then you have a coach and whatnot that's telling you what to do, but it's all on you. And is there a certain appeal to that, playing team sports your entire life into just a pure solo sport? Is there a certain appeal to that?
Yeah, I can't stress the importance of training partners enough. The fact that I have such elite level training partners that I get to work with every day helps my skills out tremendously. But yeah, it's extremely appealing to me that once I get into the cage, it's me and my skills versus somebody else and their skills. And it's the most competitive version of anything that you could do. Hard work, dedication, it all comes out when you get into that cage, and I'm blessed that I have the coaches and the knowledge around me. But yeah, one of the most appealing things about this sport versus football is that I don't have to depend on someone else to do their job. I put in the work, done the preparation myself with my team, and then I go represent myself and the team.
Andrew, one of the things that I figured out about you is you smash a lot of stereotypes in terms of transitioning athletes, people that are coming over into this space from other sports. And typically when I think about somebody like a former football player, a really athletic, muscular guy like you, I'm like, okay, stereotypically, I'm like brawler, guy that's probably not very polished, but really strong. And he can just overwhelm you with brute force, sit you down. That's kind of the end of the fight. And the key to beating guys like that is making it a very technical fight. Grapple with these guys. They have a lot of muscles. Test their endurance. As soon as they get that lactic acid built up, you choke them out, and then you go home, and hopefully they don't catch you. I've looked at you, and I've seen your performances, and somebody tried to employ a game plan that was very similar to that, but you ended up finding a way to win. I think you're actually a very technical fighter, and I think you kind of get away from a lot of those stereotypes I had just mentioned. And I was just hoping I could ask you, your wrestling, your grappling, your clinch work. Can you tell me a little bit about how you've evolved in those skills since you've been competing in MMA?
Yeah, I'm an extremely strong person. I'm very athletic, very explosive. I have all of the stereotypical attributes that a football player would bring to the table. But what makes me unique is, I think, is my mind and the way it works. I know that that I'm a big strategy guy. Like, I know that people are going to try and maybe try to wrestle with me, and I like to imply every which way I can to give me an advantage. So I just think, try not to blow muscles out unnecessarily. Which is what I originally would do when I started jujitsu. Everything would be tense, locked up, and then the best thing about jujitsu is it's such a mental side of it that if you study and learn the game, as far as wrestling, jujitsu, and then MMA is in and of itself is even harder. You learn how to not tense up and not overexert yourself. And then when it comes time for me to use the superior physicality and athleticism, I can use it smart. I use it. I don't have to throw everything 100%. I'd actually knock people out just throwing, just trying to get it there. And I have a unique power and a unique mind that works well for this sport. My mind slows down. I look for openings and make reads. It's not. I do think I would have success if I just tried to overwhelm people. I'm sure I would be just fine, but that's not who I am. That's not how I operate. I'm going to use my brain and maximize my athletic ability and strength.
Nashville MMA, there are a lot of guys that I'm familiar with that you work alongside day in and day out. I think of Alexander. I think of Hicks. I think of Derek Overstreet. And I know that there are a ton of other guys. But when you get in time with guys that are at a very, very high level like that, how has that helped your game over the past few years?
Oh, yeah. When I first got here, it was like I was a punching bag. I was, you learn how to move your head. You learn how to fight, hang in there. You learn how to manage your energy, because there would be rounds that I would hang in there just fine, but then 3 rounds later, I'm back to being the human punch bag. But like, we got some extremely technical people. We got some extremely smart fighters. So I just try to take in, absorb all the knowledge they give me, and take advantage of how good they are. Like Derek is an extremely good clinch fighter and stand-up fighter. I don't try to force it to the ground a lot with Derek. I like to stay in his world and try to figure out how to compete with him there. And then you have people like Finn who are extremely good on the ground, and I try to engage on the ground with him. That's just kind of how my mind works. That if I can meet these guys who are extremely high level fighters in where they're known for being the best at, if I can learn how to compete and adapt and get good in that realm, I can be good everywhere. And I think that it's turned into me being a very complete, well-rounded fighter. I'm very good on the ground, very good on the feet, very dangerous everywhere. And I have my teammates to thank for that.
Would you categorize yourself as a freestyle fighter?
Probably.
Because, I'm just thinking about all those things. I'm just like, hey, well, you know what? That sounds like pure MMA to me. And that's probably the best discipline to have, is being comfortable in the uncomfortable, meaning you can take the fight anywhere you want. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah, I have a lot of days where, like, I'm doing so well on the feet. I'm like, I'm probably more of a stand-up guy. And then when the wrestling, grappling day comes around and I'm doing extremely well on the ground, I'm like, oh, maybe my grappling's better than, I really don't know where I'm better at. But yeah, I try not to lean one way or the other. I like to be well-rounded. If I have an area that I can exploit the other person, I just got to be better. Like, I may be just as good of a stand-up striker as somebody I'm fighting. I may be just as good of a wrestler. But if I can use my wrestling to nullify somebody else's wrestling where I have a striking advantage, and then I take care of them on the feet, or vice versa, if somebody can't, if I can strike with them, great, but there's no, if I don't need to, I can wear them out and then turn it into a striking where I know that where it turns into my advantage 100% of the time.
Andrew, perfect amateur career, 4-0. You were a amateur middleweight champion and overwhelming success, right? You're going in there, you're getting the results that you want. You've been putting guys away. You've gone to decision a couple times. That's kind of a rare thing for you. But tell me, like, when you look back at your amateur career, what were some of the things that went into your head that made you say that, you know what, we're ready to go up to the pro ranks now?
Well, what made me, I fought the best, what I think were the three best amateurs in our region, my last three fights. I fought Miles Dillahunty, who his only loss was to Booker, who I fought next, and extremely athletic, strong, great striker. And then I fought Booker, who was undefeated at the time, one of the top ranked fighters in the Southeast. Got the knockout on him. Then I called out his teammate, who was the weight class above me's champion, and he had recently came down to 85 in his last fight. So I called for Zane Burton, who was one of the top fighters in the region and in the Southeast, and I went out there and executed my game plan the way that we had set forth. And I felt like there's not a lot of places I can go up around in the region as far as amateur goes. I feel like I've got three great. All three of those, I believe, would be pretty decent professionals at this moment. So I think that I'm going to end up fighting some professional fights eventually that are going to be easier than some of the amateur fights I've had, because I've faced some of the top talent, and all those guys are going to be big prospects whenever they come through. And I've taken care of business pretty well with all three of them, and but nothing but respect to them. I needed those guys for the confidence to go pro, because I do feel like I've fought amateurs that were at a pro level on my way up.
Well, and all respect to you as well, because you took the path of the toughest resistance, right? Like, you're fighting top-notch guys, and you recently were defending a title, and like it was like a 5-round, fight in the amateur ranks, and you just don't really see that. Like, for amateurs, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking 9 minutes, but you basically went out there and fought for 15. So does that make you feel even more confident ahead of your pro fight, where the rules are modified slightly, and we're talking about 5-minute rounds as opposed to 3-minute rounds?
Yeah, the championship rounds in amateur, it is definitely a confidence booster, knowing that 15 minutes is right there. It's not that different. We do hard rounds, 5-minute rounds every time I spar, anyways. And like I said, I'm going against some of these high level professionals already, so I'm extremely confident in my ability to go into the 5-minute rounds. I actually think that it will work better for my style, because I do like to take my time. I do like to get reads. I like to execute a game plan. Sometimes whenever you get into a game plan and you're finally start getting going, and then the 3-minute rounds is up, that was kind of aggravating at times, because I had plans of working towards either certain submissions or setting up certain combos, and it's like you have to rush it a little bit as an amateur, where as a pro it's more technical, more time to set up what you're trying to do and execute the game plan as far as trying to get the finish.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit. Somebody like you, getting in time with somebody like Derek. Derek, I think of Muay Thai right away. I think of a guy that likes to throw elbows and knees to the face. I don't know about the rule sets in Tennessee, but I would imagine that they don't take it too kindly when you elbow somebody in the face for an amateur fight. I am assuming that is unlocked for you now, and you haven't been able to do that in the past. How excited are you to know that you can elbow your opponent in the face, and the ref's not going to yell at you for that?
Oh, I'm very excited for that. I think it just opens the game up completely, especially on the ground. I'm so strong that I a lot of times, like, on the ground, I end up people, try to just control my posture because they don't want me to posture up and do any damage to them. So that is aggravating, but I can cross face and drop elbows now. I've worked elbows on the feet. I've worked knees. I've been working them this whole time, just haven't been able to implement them into the game. So it's just 4 extra weapons that I have now to use. And with a guy like me who who takes so much pride in intelligence and fighter IQ that if I can add those to my game just to mix things up, it should make things even easier, in my opinion.
You'll be fighting Nathan Gaston. And before we get to Nathan specifically, you just competed earlier this summer. You successfully defended your title. Was this timeline kind of what you were anticipating? Was the idea to get one in before the beginning of 2024? Or is this just kind of how it worked out for you?
No, I've had intentions of going professional on the underground for quite some time. Yeah, this is 100% part of my my schedule and what I'm trying to do. I want to be in the UFC eventually. I want to get as many wins as I can in 2024, and I'd like to start off the ending 2023 with my professional debut 1-0. Try to get 3 or 4 professional fights going into 2024, and then 2025, maybe even the end of 2024. Look for like a contender series shot or anything short notice. Any way I can get into there. I like my skill set against anybody. I think I have the ability to give anybody problems, even at the highest level. I just need the opportunity, and I got to put myself in that position, and with having the record and the skill set that people like Dana, Sean Shelby, and McMahon can recognize and have interest in. My plan is to get on their map big time come December or next week.
Yeah, here we go. Next week, Nathan Gaston. Now, this is a guy, you know this name. Like, this is a name that's kind of been floating around. Like, you probably heard his name in the hallways of your gym in the past. I know Derek was supposed to fight him. That bout never ended up materializing. So when Nashville Underground, when the people at Aries, when they floated kind of this name to you, was this kind of more or less what you were expecting to? Is this who you were expecting to share the cage with for your pro debut?
I assumed that I was going to end up fighting somebody that was a little higher level than most people do on their debut, just because I have the same persona and hype around me. I'm had big expectations for me around here in this region, and same for him. So I'm not surprised at all. I was just happy that I have somebody. I think that eventually the hardest part for me is going to be getting fights. So I'm happy to have the fight, happy to have a game opponent. I'm glad he's got a little bit of a name going for him too. It adds a little more to the win, in my opinion.
Neither of you have lost before. He's an undefeated amateur fighter. You're an undefeated amateur fighter. And now both of you guys are going to be making your pro debuts against each other. So not only respect to you, but respect to him. Either one of you guys could have taken lesser fights. You're choosing not to do that. You're choosing to take a very difficult fight. So, hey, that alone is worth the price of admission in my book. But tell me about this guy. Like, when you see him, what makes him a dangerous opponent, and why is he beating everybody that he's fought before?
I think his best attributes is his size, his reach. He's about 6'2", 6'3", pretty long kickboxer, very technical on the feet, and he's scrappy on the ground. Like he's kind of got that kickboxer style where he's trying to anti-grapple most of the time. He doesn't add a bunch of offensive grappling, but very good on the feet, long, athletic. I could see why everybody, why he's got some hype around him, but I feel like he probably thinks the same thing about me. He probably sees a lot of high level attributes that I bring to the table as well, and it's going to be a fun chess match to see how he uses his skill set and his attributes to his advantage the same way that I will to mine. So I'm interested to see how he's going to approach me, and I'm sure he's the same way. But I'm extremely confident, and I think I can compete with anybody in the world, and this is going to be a hopefully a good coming out party for Andrew Stewart as a pro.
From a preparatory standpoint, is it a little bit more challenging getting ready for somebody who's been out of the cage for 13 months?
Yeah, I expect that he's going to have a lot of different things in his game compared to what the last fight I've seen of him. I'm smart enough to know that a year difference between me last year and this year, completely different fighter. So I'm expecting an extremely talented, extremely well-rounded fighter come next week.
When you think about your game and how far you've come over the past year, and you think about sharing the cage with your opponent, you envision a path to victory. And what gives you the biggest advantages over somebody like this?
My coaching. I have Dustin Ortiz as my coach. My preparation, and then using all the skill set I have and everything that I've learned to set things up and implement the game plan. I think the well-roundedness of my game will open things up all over the place. So I just go in there, execute the game plan, make adjustments as needed, and get out of there with the win.
Do you have a grappling advantage over this guy?
I certainly think I have a grappling advantage. I think I have a striking advantage as well. I don't think I'm disadvantaged anywhere. But I'm sure he may think the same way, and I assume he does. We're all fighters. We all have. You don't get into a cage and fight people, especially professionally, if you don't have the mindset that your skill sets match up well with everybody's.
Well, I think we're talking about arguably what could be considered the people's main event at Nashville Underground. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And Andrew, I wanted to ask you before I let you go, December 15th, you're a guy that brings a ton of energy to the cage. Mm-hmm. And every time I watch your fights on YouTube, there's an army of people that show up, and they just flip out every time you're out there and you're performing in the cage. And can you talk to me about your support structure and the people that show up to your fights? Who are they? And, does that excite you to just know that you're getting out, you're getting ready to put on a performance for the people that just love watching you fight?
Yeah, that's the best part about being at home. I think I'm going to have the majority of this place filled out. We call them the Stewie Squad, but they are a wild, rowdy bunch, and it's a different atmosphere than when anybody else is fighting. It's so fun. But it's just people that I've met over the course of my life. They know who I am. They know who I am as a competitor. They know how I work and how I operate, and they believe in me as much as anybody, and that's why they come up and show support. A lot of them, they say they're going to be at every fight from here until I'm a champion of the world. They believe in me as much as I could ever believe in myself, and it's because they know me. They know who I am as a person and how I operate in life and how disciplined I am with everything that I do, and they have nothing but confidence that I'm going to excel at an extremely high level at this sport. They think it's tailor-made for me.
Well, let's give those good people a message, because obviously if you could shake everyone's hand and if you could talk to everyone individually, you would, but it's not possible. We're putting the bow on the camp. You got a weight cut ahead of you, and the fight's going to be on Friday. So this is going to have to suffice. So if there's something that you want to say to all those people, what do you got?
Oh, I just thank you guys so much for all the support. I appreciate it. I think that I'm second to last fight of the night because of you guys. I think that my skill set is awesome and that I've turned into a great prospect. But having that atmosphere and that energy and the people that come and support me and show me love, it means more to me than anything. And I look forward to putting on a show for you guys and continuing this journey we've got going.
December 15th, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in Nashville, Tennessee, this is the place you want to go if you're trying to watch an MMA fight. Andrew, if there's anyone that we need to thank, if you need to talk about sponsors or anyone that's supporting you as you are getting ready for this camp, let's knock them out.
Yeah, I got Dr. Howard over at Compass Human Performance. He's one of my sponsors. He takes care of me all the time, so I'm very appreciative for him. And then Spine Stop Chiropractic, they've been one of my sponsors. They've been there from the beginning. But yeah, they keep me in line. Dr. Brandon over in Bowling Green and Dr. Levi over in Scottsville, they work together to keep me together so that I can keep doing this stuff.
Well,
so thank you to them.
Well, and thank you to you for being on the People's MMA Show. I look forward to having you back very soon, sir.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Tyler.